our executive directors from Voz de Niños. Thank you for joining us today. We also have our executive director from the Children Advocacy Center, our superintendent, Mr. David Gonzalez. Also, we'd like to acknowledge our director of guidance and counseling for UISD, Ms. Melissa Ramirez, and the rest of our management team here from UISD that is joining us. Thank you so much. So, April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's a month designated to empower communities with resources to support children and families to thrive in a nurturing environment. Unfortunately, child abuse continues to occur daily, and it is our job to protect our children. According to the Children Advocacy Centers of Texas, in 2022, 67,558 children were treated for child abuse, with 65% being female and 35% being male. According to the Voz de Niños organization, 420 victims of child abuse and neglect were reported in Webb County just last year. For this reason, we must continue to spread awareness and provide the necessary resources to children suffering from child abuse. Today, United ISD is taking proactive measures by partnering with local entities to ensure the safety of our students. And please forgive me, I forgot to acknowledge a very important guest we have today, our City of Laredo Mayor, Dr. Victor Trevino. Thank you for joining us. So up next, we'd like to welcome our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. David H. Gonzalez, to come up and share a few words.
First of all, thank you for being here, everybody. Good morning. Buenos dias, everybody. As an educator with the new ISD, I will tell you that I think it's imperative that we continue to educate all our stakeholders within our district. This is a community issue, and it is something that we all have responsibility to address. I'd like to share something with you. I was reading about this. School personnel in any school district represents the largest professional resource for reporting suspected child abuse neglect in Texas. So, con más ganas, we have to have this press conference because as educators, it is our responsibility. You know, as one who had the privilege, and I say it was a privilege, working at a school setting as a teacher, as a coach, as an administrator, as a principal, I saw firsthand of the issue of child abuse. And I promised myself I was going to keep my emotions in check. It's difficult. Reflecting back on some of the cases that I went through, and I'm sure a lot of us who are in this room went through as well, working at the campuses. No school district in Texas is immune to this. It's important that we continue to advocate for doing the right thing. We see something, we need to report it. I dealt situations, high school students, in particular a sixth grader, and I'll share this with you. Child Advocacy had just presented to my staff what to look for at a meeting with our teachers and staff. The next day, I had a hit. The teacher, and I'll point her out, Ms. Mendes, came to my office crying. He says, I need your help. I have this child. I got the counselor involved. So we have entities here today. You know, we have Ms. Cantu here from Voz de los Niños. Dr. Sanchez is joining us. In this event, it is a community effort. It was not because our campus at that time was doing the right thing, reporting the child. It had it not been for Child Advocacy report, giving the presentation the day before, I'm not sure we would have caught it. Because the teacher was looking for those signs. The child had been absent. The child had been tardy. The child was coming to school in not the most appropriate attire as far as hygiene. The child had scrapes. The child had bruises. But we caught it. So I will tell you that as a school district, we are making a difference. We're going to continue to do that. I am extremely proud to stand here before you and have entities such as our mayor and entities coming together for one mission, that is to protect our children and our youth of Laredo and our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Up next, please help me welcome the director of a vital organization to our community when it comes to helping and protecting our children from abuse. Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center, Dr. Severita Sanchez.
Good morning, my name is Severita Sanchez and I'm the Executive Director for the Children's Advocacy Center, Laredo Webb County. Thank you so much for today. It's very, very important that everybody is aware that child abuse, unfortunately, keeps us very, very busy. It's all about 75% of our cases are sexual, some are physical, and some are emotional. The very sad part about it is that children are not telling. It's a very dark topic. It's very sad. And when they come to us, either the police brings them or Child Protective Services brings them. And we begin with the interview. We begin with the forensic interviews. And that's when you hear the child saying, I didn't want to say, because then nobody was going to pay the rent. See, children are not going to say anything because probably the perpetrator is buying groceries, paying the rent, and the mother asks them, please don't say anything, Nikita. No, he's just trying to show you that he loves you. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there, but I want you to know that if you suspect anything, report it. It's not your job to investigate. Please do not investigate. Let the professionals do the investigating. And that is your law enforcement, and that is Child Protective Services. It's very confidential, and I'll give you the number that I think this is the first phone number I learned when I went into Child Advocacy Center, and it's 1-800-252-5400. That is your CPS report. And get your case number, and don't you lose that case number. And it's confidential. So thank you so much for everything you do for children, especially our educators, especially our classroom teachers, because the child will go to the classroom teacher and you'll notice it. You notice it first. You're always the first ones that notice it first. Thank you so much, and let's watch out for our kids, our children, not kids, our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez. Well, up next, we also would like to invite an organization that is very near and dear to me as well, and it's instrumental in our community. Please help us welcome Executive Director of Voz de Niños, Mrs. Sara Cantu.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. I think we can all agree from what we heard from Mr. Gonzalez and Dr. Sanchez. I think we can all agree that all children deserve a safe and healthy household. Unfortunately, for many children across the nation, child abuse and neglect is a sad reality for them. In Webb County, like Lorena said, we had a confirmed victims, 420. It's a high number, but remember, those are only the ones that were investigated and that were confirmed victims of abuse and neglect. Like Dr. Sanchez said, it's about education. It's about the prevention. I've been a child protective investigator before, and when you do is you intervene at that point is because there's no other safe measures to keep that child in their biological home. Now, as an executive director for CASA, I have a different role. My role is to educate, to prevent more child abuse and neglect, because when a child is in a foster home, that doesn't mean that we remove them from biological family and the child abuse and neglect don't happen. Abuse happens in foster homes as well. So like Mr. Gonzalez said, we do need the help of all of our stakeholders. I especially speak to our teachers, our educators, administrators. You see our children in your classrooms more than our families, more than our caseworkers, more than ourselves. Please pay attention to that student coming in looking a little bit disheveled, not turning in their homework, coming in late, Those children that come in with empty bellies and that aren't able to come in for the free breakfast that's provided by our school district. Pay attention to those kiddos that are not thriving academically, to those children that are acting out negatively. Because for a neglected child, if you give me attention, even if it's negative, even if it's consequences, it's still attention that I am getting. It is everybody's job to report. It is everybody's job to not look away. Our children deserve to not suffer abuse and neglect. We have seen firsthand that once children experience childhood neglect, abuse, they don't thrive academically. They don't form those relationships with their peers, their families. My job as an executive director, when we get our children, they've already been confirmed victims. They've already gone through the CAC and done their forensic interview. They've already gone through the system. My hardest part of my job is having a child's parents having their rights terminated and having that child age out of a system. Because it's not just about, let's remove the child from the danger and then they're good. No, statistics show that children thrive better being raised in their biological home. So the key here is prevention. Pay attention to your parents. Summer's coming, and that's a very scary time for everyone in the child welfare system, and I think Dr. Sanchez will agree, because cases are down. And it's not because abuse doesn't happen in the summer, but because we don't have our educators reporting because the kids aren't coming to school. They're on summer break. So I do ask everybody, I'm going to leave you with, it's a proverb that everybody says, it takes a village to raise a child. I'm born and raised in Laredo, Texas. Laredo is known for being very big on family. Treat our children like if they were your own. I leave you here with my favorite quote from J.M. Barrie. Be kinder than necessary, for everyone you meet is going through some sort of battle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cantu. And last but not least, I'd like to welcome our City of Laredo Mayor, Dr. Victor Trevino, who will share a few words with us, and then it'll be followed by the presentation of the proclamation.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Dr. Victor Trevino, Mayor for the City of Laredo. And about the topic, it is very important to be in events like this, because this is a topic that is very uncomfortable. And when we see child abuse or neglect, it is very difficult to confront a family. We see it on our medical practice. After 36 years of seeing this, we still find it difficult to address the situation, especially to the parents, where you confront them and try to say, why is the child in this situation? And the response is, it's none of your business. We know how to raise our child. So the main thing to do, like it was said previously, is to report it and not to deal with it directly, because professionals can deal with it better. So the way I can tell you that something has to be done is first to identify it. Identify by looking at the signs, either physical, mental, emotional, and reporting it. It is our duty to report it as physicians, medical personnel, teachers. Anyone can report it. And as soon as you report it, then the professionals can take over. Sometimes child abuse and neglect is occult. We see it frequently when we do a routine x-ray for any other things. We find multiple broken bones in a child, and that is concerning. Where did that come from? So that is a reportable situation. So these things are important. Another thing is that it is very difficult for someone to accept that they're doing child abuse or neglect, because that's the way it is. Some people have become complacent, and if they were abused as children, they'll probably be abusers as adults. So this is the thing, the culture has to change by education, by informing the people, and a lot of things has to do, it starts with educators and it starts with people leading them in the right direction. With that being said, I would like to proceed with a proclamation. Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in Laredo, Texas. Whereas, as of 1997, about 13,258 children between the ages of 2 to 17 have been reportedly victimized at times and re-victimized by unimaginable sexual, physical, or emotional abuse. And whereas, in fiscal year 2021 to 2022, approximately 555 child victims received Children's Advocacy Center of Laredo, Webb County. 12% were ages 0 to 5, 47% were 6 to 12, 40% were 13 to 17, and 1% were individuals 18 or above with disabilities. Whereas 26% of the victims were male and 74% of the victims were females, and whereas research indicates that for any one child that outcries abuse, there are still 10 that are silent. Whereas child abuse prevention is commonly responsibility in finding solution depends on involvement among all people. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote and support programs that benefit children and their families. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because partnerships among a variety of entities, including but not limited to schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, child protective services, prosecution agencies, medical professionals, mental health professionals, children's advocacy centers, and other community-based nonprofit organizations. And whereas everyone in the community should become more aware of child abuse prevention and consider helping parents raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment, as well as supporting local professionals dedicated to meeting the needs of child abuse victims. And now, therefore, I, Dr. Victor D. Trevino, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Laredo, county of Webb, state of Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in Laredo, Texas, at the city of Laredo and among with UISD, we urge all citizens to work together to reduce child abuse and neglect and to significantly improve the response of our community when child abuse occurs in the months and years ahead. Thank you.